Now, I'm sure you've seen someone make a game in a week, or even in a day. That's too easy though. Today, I'm making a game in one school day, meaning the second I get on the bus to the second I get off. Starting off, I need a laptop to do this on since the school computers block everything, and the only laptop I have is my brother's one, which is like 7 years old, which kinda sucks because I can't do anything without it lagging. Luckily, I found a workaround with Parsec, a free app that allows you to connect your computer from anywhere. Yo, where am I? Sponsor me, sponsor me, sponsor me, sponsor me. So now that I got that out of the way, I can start coding, right? Nope. You actually need Wi-Fi to connect, meaning I couldn't do anything on the bus. I was able to connect in the last few minutes, so I was able to start a basic movement script. Okay, so game plan. 3D modeling takes way too long. I could spend the entire day just making a model for the player and another one for the enemies. So to make sure this doesn't happen, I decided to spend the first 2 periods finishing all the coding of the actual game, leaving the last 2 periods for making models and making the game look good. I decided on slimes for both the player and the enemies so that I only had to make one easy model. For the actual gameplay, my plan was to have a bunch of different colored slimes, and you'd have to merge the slimes of your color while avoiding slimes of other colors. My first class was AP Seminar, which might sound pretty bad for making a game, but it was actually perfect because not only did we have a sub, but we also finished AP exams already, so I had the entire period to work on the game. First thing I did was finish the movement, then I started to work on the enemies. After some debugging, I managed to get an enemy chasing the player. To make the game more interesting, I decided on switching the colors up every few seconds, so I finished that and then I started to work on spawning, but
What is this, bro?
That brought us to the end of period 1. Next period was advisory, aka homeroom, for 15 minutes. I added the color switching thing to the enemies and I also added a score, but that's all I had time for. Period 2 is PLT, aka personal learning time. They think I'm gonna use school time to learn. Get a load of this guy. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do not repeat the actions you see in this video. Anytime in this video, off-task when the class was either done after all the classwork for that period was done or after the permission of the teacher was granted. If I say otherwise, I'm lying or joking, or there's an artificial deepfake of my voice spraying lies. I added a tile texture to make the game look better, even though I kinda did say I'd do that in the last 2 periods. I realized that the gameplay is pretty boring, so I added this jump feature that kills surrounding slimes, and now it works perfectly fine. Last thing I did was add a game over screen, so now the game loop is finished, giving me the next 2 periods to work on sprites and polish. Okay, so my next class was math, and for the first half the teacher gave a lecture, and luckily enough he didn't ask us to close our Chromebooks, which he usually does, so I spent that time making models for the slimes. That brought us to lunch, and even though I was charging it for the entire day, the Mac already was on low battery since I didn't have an outlet that period, so I let it charge during lunch. For the second half of class, we had to do some practice problems, so I did those at home and I used the time to work on the game, starting with putting the actual model in the game on the player and then on the other slimes. I started to make these poof clouds to hide when a slime died, but I got a little sidetracked making a toon shader, although I did kind of forget how to make those.
I can make a toon shader with an unlit shader graph. Main light direction, which essentially tells us.
I basically finished the toon shader, but that's all I had time for when the period ended. Look at this loser editing the video. Oh my god, I could not imagine. Yes, I'm talking about you. You're the only one editing the video. The first thing I did last period was model a crown for the player, so it was more obvious who the player was controlling. Most of this class ended up being review for stuff we already took notes on, so I had a lot of time. I applied the toon shader and found a font on Google, and the game was pretty much done. The rest of the time I spent on other polished stuff, like making a vignette for the color switch, but then that's all I had time for, because my ride home also didn't have Wi-Fi. So yeah, that's how I made a game while somehow avoiding all my schoolwork for that day. Go check the game out on itch.